right. Welcome back to Slightly Less Scripted. We took a little bit of an abbreviated break, but we are back with a great guest, Mrs. Sharkey. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a thrill to be here.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine, keeping busy despite the fact that I'm not here permanently anymore.
What have you been up to?
Well, I spend a lot of time with my family and my grandchildren, but they're growing up and going out on their own, so keep busy with that. You know, one of the things I am doing now is I'm doing some volunteer work with the Catholic Central. It's not a Catholic Central charity, but it's a charity started by a Catholic Central man, Please and Thank You.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nick.
I am delivering blankets to hospitals.
Okay.
So I went to Mott Hospital last week, and next week I'm going to the Children's Hospital in Toledo.
And sometimes I see you at OLV.
Yes.
Going to mass with grandkids, right?
Right.
How many do you have?
9.
Oh.
9 grandchildren.
Wow.
Yes, the oldest is 26 and the youngest is 9.
So they probably keep you busy too.
They do. I love it. I do love it. And I have one grandson remaining here. 2 have graduated from CC and 1 is currently a sophomore.
1 left.
Yes.
All righty.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to get you on the podcast to be able to tell some stories. I'm sure you have a lot, but what I wanted to do was start off because I actually don't even know the story. I'm sure other people don't. When's the first time that you heard of CC? How'd you get involved with Catholic Central?
Oh,
take me back.
You have to go way back. We were living in Lathrop Village, and my son was in the 8th grade, and thinking about high school, and he was going to Our Lady of La Salette grade school in Berkeley, Michigan, and I was teaching there. And my husband said, well, I think we should think about Catholic Central. And I said, I've never heard of that place. Where is it? He said, what's Redford? And my husband was, at the time, he was the managing editor of the Observer and Eccentric newspapers. He says, I go right by it on my way to work off 96. And he said, well, why wouldn't he go to Shrine or Brother Rice? It's much closer. He said, we can look at all those, you know. Anyway, jumping ahead, my husband took him to spend a morning at Brother Rice and the afternoon here. And that's all it took. And I still hadn't been here. I never knew anybody who went to Catholic Central. You know who was the last person to come to Catholic Central from Our Lady of La Salette in Berkeley? Tom Mack.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he didn't come here to school.
Yeah.
But he went to grade school at Our Lady of La Salette
and then
in
came
Berkeley.
to work.
Yes. But anyway, it was, so he came to school here, and the night of the freshman welcome,
Yep.
my husband had something, and so he said, you just go. And I thought, okay, give me the directions on how to get there. So I come, and the parking lot is jam full. So I come in, and the cafeteria was wall-to-wall people. I did not know a soul, not one soul. And the principal at the time was Father Aquero. And he was introducing faculty, and, you know, they would say a little bit. And then he said, now I want you to mingle, have some refreshments, and get to know each other. And I looked around. I didn't know what to do. So I just left because I didn't know a living soul. And I thought, what have we done sending our son to this huge school? He'll never have any friends. We'll never get to know anyone. Well, 4 years later, I was the Mothers Club president. And 5 or 6 years later, I forget how many years, I was working here.
So your first involvement was as a parent?
Yes. Oh, yes. as a parent who was so in the dark and
About
so,
CC.
Oh, completely so overwhelmed that that I was far more intimidated than my son. My son was fine.
Yeah.
But you know, I just kept on keeping on, which was pretty much how I've done everything since I've been involved at Catholic Central.
I think that's a common CC story, is not knowing much and then jumping right in with both feet.
You know, I have learned, probably the hard way, that that's kind of a good way to live. Just jump in and see what happens. Do
Yeah.
your best. And, you know, in my years here, it, you know, I knew the material, but the kids, you know, and I'm sure many teachers say this, the kids just taught me so much about how to teach and how not to teach.
Yeah.
And I every day, well, that was a bomb. I'm not going to use that again. And then there were days when I thought, okay, this worked.
It was a good day.
We'll go with it. We'll go with it, you know? And so, and then this story of how I got involved with student activities.
So you started as a teacher.
Oh, yes. I was teaching. First, I just taught all theology.
Mm-hmm.
My first year was, I think, 4 classes of freshmen and 1 senior. And
how was that first year? Intimidating?
The first year, I was completely intimidated by that scene. I used to joke that I earned all my money just teaching that 1 senior class a day because the freshmen were wonderful. I just loved them. I still do. Because I had just come from teaching 8th grade. And 8th grade to freshmen, like a miracle happens. You know, they're new in the building. They listen to you. They want to know what you're
They're a little scared.
Say. Yeah. And so it was great. And when you teach 8th grade in a small Catholic school, you're kind of in charge of everything. And so when, for the first couple of weeks, I remember having this experience of the day was over, I pack up my stuff, I'd be going out to the car, and I just have this feeling I'm forgetting something. And so sometimes I would go all the way back to my classroom from my car because I was sure I'd forgotten my grade book, a set of papers, something. And then I realized at that point, my first year here, all I had to do was teach. Teach my class, grade my papers, do the grades. And they're paying me for this. And I thought, this is great. And then the next year they said, will you be the moderator of the newspaper? And so I thought, oh, they got me. and then it just went from then. Let's see. When I was hired, who was the principal? Oh, Father Moffat. And then after Father Moffat was Father Gardner. And I think it was when his first or second year here. No, it was, yeah, I think it was after his second year. My grandson just walked by. And anyway, I was home, it was summer. I was home. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. I was still in bed. The phone rings. This was before cell phones. And he said, Janice, this is Father Gardner. He said, could you come and meet me in my office? And I said, I could tell he didn't want to say what it was about. And I said, well, when would you like me to come? He said, right now. I said, well, could you give me just like an hour and I'll be there? And so I think, what is this about? And I had been teaching freshman English at that point, and I had failed 2 kids. I thought, that's got to be what it's about. And so I thought, okay. So I got my grade book because I could prove that that these kids really did fail. And so I walked into his office with my grade book. And he said, sit down. And he said, okay, I'd like you to be the director of this, he called it was student council at the time.
Student council.
He says, well, he said, the current director is going on leave just for a year. So I just need you to do this for a year. I said, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. He says, we'll get you through it. Between Mr. Hayes and Mr. Henry, we'll just get you through it. I said, but that's running the drive in Boys Bowl. He says, don't worry about it, and he said, I said, and it was already been announced that Father Gardner was not going to be the principal. Now, this was June, and they still didn't know who was going to be the principal. Who was going to be it. They just knew who wasn't going to be the principal. And so I said, Father, it might be easier for me to make a decision if I knew who my boss was going to be. He said, I know. He says, but we still haven't made that decision. But I tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Father Menner. I said, okay, well, can't put this on. And I said, okay, well, it was Father Menner. And you know what? Father Menner was so good to me. I mean, he really made it work.
Yeah.
But the people who really made it work were the kids who were seniors that year. That was the class of 98. They held my hand and they, okay, now this is what we do. And they also, I have to admit, took advantage of the fact
that you were new.
That I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
And as they would. Yeah. As they would.
And so when they said, what if we try this? I said, oh, I don't think we can do this. Well, let's just see. And most of the time, their ideas were great. And it was, I'm trying to think, it's been so long ago, but John Cronk was the student council president. He was one, I think he lives in Columbus now. I haven't seen him since the day he graduated. But, I mean, he was fabulous. Who else was in that class? Oh, Mike Haller. Oh, gosh. Really, those kids were so great to me. I mean, because sometimes they took advantage of my ignorance, but most of the time they were just great. And so the next year, guess what? Well, that teacher decided not to come back from his, and
so I'm guessing 1 year turned into a lot longer.
17 years. And guess who the next president was? Anthony Tomey. It was that class, the class of 99.
Uh-huh.
Who took the drive into a whole new, because the year before, I think the theme was, it was the Olympics year, so we took advantage of it.
Yes.
And we had some posters hanging around and things, but, it was kind of low key. Well, not the next year. He said, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to put, now, I wish you could visualize the lobby in the old school, because it was massive. Mm. He says, we want to put turf down in the lobby and put a goal post up. I said, Anthony, we can't do that. Well, of course we did. and that's when, we came with all these different themes and every year since, mm-hmm. as is true of everything in Catholic Central, there's really only one game here, and I've said this many times. There's really only one game here. And the name of that game is, can you top this? No matter what it is.
Yeah.
It could be the drive. And I learned that, and you have to have a competition to make it fun, to make it work. 1 year, for the canned food drive. It's this homeroom against that homeroom. Who can bring in the most cans? And it was the same thing for the toy drive at Christmas time. One year I thought, we're just pushing this too hard. We're asking too much. So I'd say, we're going to get the toys. So I just said, we're not having a contest this year. We're just asking you to bring in a toy, unwrapped, and just because it's the right thing to do. We probably got about 12 toys because it wasn't a contest. Who cares, you know? And so I thought, okay, we won't do that anymore. I mean, if I could find a way to pit this kid against that kid or that homeroom against that homeroom,
You knew it would work.
It would work. And I mean, there's just so many fun. And I mean, like the first year we moved to Novi, we had to kind of rethink how we did a lot of things because the night of the Boys Bowl assembly, that Friday night in Redford, we always had a bonfire.
Yeah.
Always. Well, Novi had an ordinance or a rule
Against
or something. No bonfires on campus.
I heard we were a little strict about what could be inside the building at the time, too.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I felt so. The kids, that class of 06, they paid such a heavy price for being the first ones here. Oh, don't hang that. Oh, please. No, don't touch that wall.
Father Raniletti, remember, he wouldn't let us put anything on the walls, nothing.
And so finally, Father Raniletti, I think the next year, he understood and said, wait a minute, this is not a museum. It's a school.
Yeah.
And so finally we could, but oh my gosh, that first class here, they paid a price.
Mike Carrier.
Yeah, Mike Carrier was in that class.
Which is ironic now.
It is. And I think, that's another story.
It's probably part of it. He was like, I never got to do this my first year.
Right. But anyway, so I think it was the next year. I don't remember what we did that first year. The next year, Scott Scrimshire lives in California now. Anyway, he said, well, what about this idea? We have a car show and we have a flag football tournament. A flag football tournament right before a big football game the next couple of days? He said, well, anybody can play in this, but not the varsity football team. So we had a few cars for a car show. But I said, what? You're going to have to organize this whole flag football thing.
Yeah.
And he came up with the word Shamstock after Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all she wrote. I mean, it was, but one of the reasons this was so successful, this team against that team.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love most about this place is the non-MHSAA sports. Because anybody can play and they just have fun, but they are still so darn competitive.
Yeah.
And Shamstock just exploded. And for a while that we had to cut off teams. And my first year, boy, talk about an ignorance level out. Guess who said, well, could we form a faculty team or for people who work here? And, I don't know if I wasn't thinking. I must not have been. So I just said, sure.
Why not?
Guess who the asker was? Aaron Babbitts. Who does he bring on his team? Casey Rogowski. I mean, they were huge. They were ringers from, I mean.
It looked like a professional team versus a bunch of kids.
It was a professional team.
That doesn't sound like Aaron at all, does it?
And so I just said, never again. Never again.
There seems to be too much liability in that.
And he still hasn't let me forget it. But I mean, I just love the fact that now, they have team names, they have colors, they get shirts.
Yeah.
But it's all because anybody can do it, and it's a competition. And the more you can, involve kids any kid,
Mm-hmm.
the better it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember, but the winner of Battle of the Bands also got to perform
Yes.
at Shamstock.
That was, I wish. Here's one of the problems. We are very often a victim of our own success.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we can have all kinds of sound, everything, and so and kids don't form bands as much as they used to, don't you think, John?
That's true.
But a lot of the kids here used to just form their own bands in the garage, and so we used to have the Battle of the Bands, and the group that won would perform at Shamstock, and but it was just a celebration. But my first year of running the drive, I was so nervous because we had to raise the money. We've got to raise the money. So it's kind of like no matter what kind of dog and pony show I put on, if the money doesn't come in, who cares?
Needs to be some meat on the table.
And I was thrilled that year. This was the winter of '98. We brought in $180,000. This was fabulous. Well, that was then.
That was a lot then.
Yeah.
That's still a lot.
Everybody was thrilled. Oh, they thought this was the greatest that we made $180,000 that year.
What did you think last year when we crossed over the $1 million?
I don't even know how to think about the drive anymore because it's kind of like, how can they do it? How can they keep doing it? I remember, and it was since we were in the new school. I shouldn't call it the new school anymore. It's been 20 years. When we hit 300, and everybody was thrilled, and I was devastated. We can never
do this again.
And if you don't do at least as well on anything as you did the year before, you're a failure. and I thought, this is horrible. We can't do this again, but they're going to expect us to do it again. Well, I was wrong. And I was wrong a lot.
There has been times where we've gone back.
Yes, there has.
There has been times where
I think the students have kind of forgotten that recently. There have been years where the drive has dipped before.
It's a concern for this year. Some people wonder if maybe we won't hit that million mark.
And here's the thing. For the big picture, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-mm.
But when you're here for only 4 years, it is a horrible thing to go back. And,
you don't want to be that class.
You don't want to be that class. But it's...
Why do you think it's so important? The drive, the extracurriculars, the student activities?
Because for many kids, it's kind of their way of finding out something about themselves and of starting to feel like I'm part of this. I'm contributing something. Even if it's, could you carry this cardboard up to room 307 because they need it to build whatever, their scoreboard. And then maybe that kid will come back and say, is there something else you want me to do? And then pretty soon he's on a committee or he's helping with this. And I used to think, okay, the captain of XYZ team, whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't need me. They've got their niche. They've got their thing that they want to do, that they have to do. But Billy Jones over there, who's new, who is a little bit shy, or who is a pain in the butt to most teachers, he needs me.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of kid that I try to bring in. Not because they're going to be a great, unbelievable doer of deeds, but because that kid will definitely help out. He'll be completely reliable, and he'll be a part of things. He'll start to want to wear the spirit wear. He'll be happy to order a senior sweater instead of saying, being a kid like, oh, that's not cool. We want to make all the nerdy things, all the dorky things, all the even ordinary things about school wonderful. Because 4 years is eternal to them, but it's a minute. It's a minute. And that's why they kind of deserve hardworking faculty, hardworking administrators, because no matter how many years we're here, they're only here for 4. And so
there's some people that just live here.
Yeah. And so, I knew it was time for me to retire. Well, I was 67, so it was time for anybody to retire, I guess. But I knew it was time for me to retire the first time I thought, oh, I've got to do such and such again.
Yeah.
I never wanted to ever have that thought, because the kids deserve somebody who says, oh, we get to do
this again,
whatever it is,
Yeah.
And so that's, and I think for the most part, that's what the kids get here. I mean, nobody, I guess, really says, oh, I get to take a chemistry test tomorrow. But in a way, in the long run, they do.
Yeah.
And so the job I ended, for a while there, when I first started with student activities, I was teaching and doing it. Father Menner said, oh, we'll take you back to 4 classes instead of 5. And so I was juggling a lot of plates. And then a couple years later, well, we'll take you down to 3 classes. And then one time Father Analetti called me and he said, well, this is what I'm seeing. I feel like I'm either going to lose a theology teacher or I'm going to lose a student activities director, both of which are hard to find. So you got to choose. He said, well, really, I'm choosing for you. He said, you're not going to be teaching
anymore.
And I was devastated. I mean, he did the right thing.
He was right.
He was right, but I was devastated because I love teaching.
Sure.
And there's no better way to get to know kids than to see them every day for 42 minutes. No better. I mean,
agreed.
And so, and I lost that. And so, I had to, rely on spending a lot of time with them in other things. And, I don't know. I think if I had to do it all over again, I'd say, you got to let me have 2 classes and figure out something else, somebody to help. Because at the time I was teaching juniors.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I taught every junior. They split in 2 semesters. So by the time they were seniors, I knew them all.
Yep.
And so if a kid said, what can I do such and such? Depending on who was asking, I'd say, sure, that's a great idea. Or, are you kidding me? No way.
Maybe not.
Yeah. But Father Analetti made the right administrative decision. But it did make, oddly enough, it made the job harder, even though it gave me more time and freedom.
Sure.
So, and maybe a little bit more sanity. That's questionable. I
Debatable.
guess. Yeah. So anyway, but
When you look back on your time at CC, who are some of the colleagues that come to mind? People that you loved working with and, sharing these events with, sharing classes with?
I when I first came to CC, I knew who some of the people were, but I didn't really know them. And so I just kind of kept my head down. And even though Father Donaher was not a big fan of any woman in the theology department, he was supportive. And he also knew some people in my family, so that helped. He knew them through his brother in Dayton. So so that helped. And Coach Magny was very supportive of me in only a way Coach Magny could be, from kind of afar and a little bit gruff. But
It's my homeroom teacher.
Yeah, was
freshman
he?
year.
Yeah, but he was great to me. And when I there were probably about maybe my first year was I came on staff in 1990, and there were probably 6 or 7 women on staff then, and they all had very busy lives, so it wasn't like we hung out or anything, but we kind of took care of each other. But then, as time went on, more and more women were hired, and so we became friends. But everybody was good, and I worked with Mrs. Nanny for a lot of years. I can't remember, probably a good 13 or 14 years, and she was a go-getter. If anybody knew her, it was kind of like, okay, she's on fire, and we're gonna get this done. And she loved working with the boys, and she loved making things happen. And nobody outworked her. And by the way, she was also an excellent, top-notch classroom teacher. Taught business, economics, government. She was top-notch. And so it was a privilege, and she was just so supportive of me. So that was great. So it's been good.
What do you think about seeing the campus as it is today, with all the additions and obviously there has been a lot of changes. You mentioned that a lot of things have stayed the same, but what do you think of all the transformation going on?
Part of my problem is that I don't understand the technology, if it would be anywhere, if it would be an XYZ company. But I do know that it's absolutely necessary to start teaching in this environment, and because the kids are in the environment when they're not here. And so I guess I'm hoping that that the people here are so much better than I am at this, that they can give them not only technical guidance. To tell you the truth, it seems they can kind of do that on their own, but some kind of character and moral guidance on how to use these miraculous devices that are wonderful and frightening at the same time. It boggles my mind the unbelievable responsibility that teachers are carrying now to try to find a way to make students true learners of not facts. They can get those anywhere.
Yeah.
They can get a lot of misinformation too. which is the scary part. But how to tell the difference, how to know what is really not only right but good.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing responsibility that I don't know. I would hope I'd be up for it, but I don't know how. I mean, that's why I have I'm in awe of the people who do it day in and day, because they have to constantly be changing and adapting to everything that happens in technology on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Knowing something when you graduate from college is just that. That's very nice, but what have you done for me lately? Because 17 things have happened since then.
Yeah.
So it's almost frightening for me to think about, but you're doing it. You're doing it in such not just creative ways, but fun ways.
Sure.
So
what do you think's most, as we head into our 100th anniversary, which you're helping us with, actually? I don't know how you managed to keep on helping, but
you know why I'm on the 100th anniversary committee? Because I was on the 75th anniversary committee.
You
That's
remember
kind of how it goes here at
things.
CC. You say yes to a few things, and it's,
Right.
well, that's the way we've always done it. So Janice is on that, and Steven's on this.
Yeah.
Well, what's your advice, just I'd say to everyone, what's your advice for Catholic Central after the 100th, for the next 100 years? What's important?
Well, the word is everywhere here, as it should be. The tradition, but it's not just the tradition in do we have somebody who got a perfect ACT score or how many state championship, but through tradition of being true Catholics. And that's a very, very, very difficult thing to put your finger on. But I think we're doing it. I think. Because if we're not that, then we're just another fancy school.
Yeah.
I think that I think just to keep on doing what we've always done, just build on what happened last week. Build on, and if you keep doing that and remembering that this is a place for work and fun, and then get down on your knees and thank God,
Yeah.
and ask Him, stay with us, stay with us, stay with us. I think that's the key. I mean, that's what I think.
Sure. I think it's great advice.
Because right now we've found a way to attract talent, brilliance, creativity. And we have to be the ones who then give back the spirit, not only the spirit of Catholic Central, but the Holy Spirit. Which in a perfect world would be the same thing, of course.
Mrs. Sharkey, before we started recording, you said if a tornado came and leveled this place, the students would still come back, the teachers would still come back, and it would still be Catholic Central. Why?
Because the people, Catholic Central is not an address. It is not a team. It is not a building. It is the people who make the team, people who make the class, people who make the spirit, people who make the work, people who make the fun, people who are there come hell or high water for each other. And I think if that mythical tornado did happen, and it would be a far greater devastation than ever before. But CC, would it still exst?
Have to be a strong tornado too.
It would have to be a very strong tornado.
That building's pretty solid over there.
The one in Redford, I think,
might have came down with a strong wind,
yes,
but
yes.
This one's a little bit more sturdy.
I used to tell the kids the last year, maybe we won't paint signs, maybe we'll just paint the walls. I couldn't get permission for that though. But I mean it. I think because that spirit is so strong, and it's taught and it's preached and it's lived, I think it would go on. I really do. I think we're gonna. I see challenges in the future, not just from technology, but the laity are really going to have to carry the mantle of Catholicism.
Yeah.
And we found a way to do that here. And that's what, if you look up the definition of the lowercase c Catholic, that's what we are. Mm. Our beliefs our way should be universal. How we take care of each other.
Yeah.
I think you're finding a way to do that. I really do. But it's hard. It's really hard. But good stuff doesn't come easy.
Can you leave us with a bazillion story that sums up? I'll make it easier, hopefully. That sums up the spirit of the Bazillions. So for the people who don't know the Bazillions, do you have a story, maybe about one or a group, that just really sums up who they are as a group? I know, sorry, that's a difficult question.
I think I'll tell you the story that I talked earlier about Father Danaher. He loved his students. He, if you were his student, he would always remember you. Always. I remember one time he found out that one of his students, I think the kid was a sophomore at the time, wasn't coming back to see. And he went to the office and said, why isn't so-and-so coming back? Can't pay the tuition. So Father Danaher got on the phone and he called one of those other students that he always remembered. He said, okay, this is the problem I have. Billy can't come back to CC. I want you to help him. Could you pay his tuition? Now, you didn't know Father Danaher, but nobody could say no to Father Danaher. Not because he was powerful and strict, but because he loved them. And that man who ran a bank in South Carolina remembered how much Father Danaher cared about him. So he sends a check. Now, the money here isn't the story, but Father Danaher cared about every kid. Every kid. And I think that was that bazillion charism that came through. And kind of infected everyone else. he just cared about every aspect. I mean, so many people could tell the story of seeing Father Danaher out at the Silver Dome. I think that was probably the last place he went to a state championship game. Maybe he got to Ford Field. I don't know. He would never, ever sit down and watch a game. Ever. He would go up on the promenade there, and you'd see him in the far promenade, his rosary, walking up and down.
Pacing
The entire game.
praying.
Because that was the only way he could help the kids. His other way, do they still do spirit buses?
We do sometimes.
He always did them.
Yeah.
He was one of those people. He organized a spirit bus, always, because he was willing to give that time. You know, he would find a driver, somebody who's been driving a school bus for, 30 years. He would find a driver and make the kids pay $1, and then he'd use that money to buy candy and then give it to kids. And but he never hesitated to give time. For instance, anybody who was running to ride the spirit bus, okay, be here half an hour before the spirit bus leaves, and I'll say mass for you before the game. That way you don't have to go to mass tomorrow morning. Did that all the time. Why? Because A, he knew that it would be nice for the kid, and that might force you to go to mass for the weekend. But I mean, he always was, okay, what can I do for the student? What can I do for that was his complete way of life. Sometimes he drove you nuts, but that was his way of life. And that was this, because and I'm sure the bazillions who came before him had that same spirit of total dedication to the student. I just think it's kind of seeped into the walls here.
Yeah, but we got to carry forward.
Yes, and it's a heavy responsibility.
The hardest one.
It is, because even though he was totally giving, he had the time, and that was his vocation.
Yeah.
And the people here have other lives.
Takes sacrifice.
And so when you work at any school, anywhere, it's a sacrifice. But here, it's a sacrifice. But things are good. And you got to hand it to the alumni. They remember and they give back in a lot of ways. And it terrifies them to think the place will change. Terrifies them. Because it's so precious to them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you
That
so much.
was perfect. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy listening to stories and just listening to you talk.
Well,
You can tell that you cared about your students.
I did. Yeah. I wish I could remember all the names. I remember a lot more faces, but not so much the names.
But perfect episode for right before drive. So hopefully we can carry some spirit into drive and go raise that $1 million.
Yeah. The other night, William was at the house at dinner at my house, and my granddaughter, who's 26, and she's an attorney now, and she's kind of in her first full year of making a living on her, and so we were all there, and I said, Kathleen, I'm going to have to say this to you. You're an adult now. You're making a daily wage and salary. It's time. She just looked, she had no idea what I was going to say. You're going to have to buy some drive tickets.
Oh, perfect.
And she was so relieved. She says, okay, William, how much are they? And he says, they're $10 a ticket, $50 a book. He says, okay, I'll buy a book.
Oh, that's amazing.